So when we talk about domestication, it's usually in the context of the history and use of animals. And what is domestication, some of you may ask? What would make you think an animal actually was domesticated? The easiest way to do this is to look at the definition of domestication. It's defined as to bring wild animals under the control of humans over a long period of time for the purpose of providing useful products and services. The process involves careful handling, breeding, and care. Why on earth would we ever domesticate? Well, for a more stable food and clothing supply, it allows us to know where our food is at all times. It allows us to specialize. If I only want to raise beef cattle, I can. I no longer need to look for chickens. It leads to less nomadic cultures and greater population density. We can live where we want. We don't have to be spread out all over the country hunting animals all the time. It also allows for selective breeding. We've been able to change animals. If you don't believe me, look at all the different breeds of dogs and how different those look. A Great Dane looks nothing like a Chihuahua, and that's because of man. Also, greater production capabilities lead to surpluses for people. So when we look at the 6 characteristics of domesticated animals, we're going to look at their diet, their growth rate, their ability to breed in captivity, their disposition, their temperament, and the social hierarchy of that animal. So the first characteristic has to do with diet. The animal's diet has to be flexible. They cannot just eat one thing. Like a panda is not domesticated because they only eat bamboo, which is only grown in one certain small area. Herbivore or omnivore are more sustainable. They're much easier to domesticate. Something that only eats meat is very difficult to domesticate. The second one is their growth rate. Animals that reach maturity relatively fast, like sheep or pigs or rabbits, make great domesticated animals. Their lifespan and reproductive cycles need to be somewhat short so humans can control their breeding program. That's probably one reason why elephants have not been domesticated, is because it takes them a long time to reach maturity and they have a very long reproductive cycle. The next characteristic is the ability to breed in captivity. This is pretty simple. Some animals will not breed in captivity. If they will, and that's some of the cats, the big cats. If they won't breed in captivity, there's no way we're ever going to be able to domesticate them because we can't get them to reproduce. The animal's disposition needs to be calm and moderately predictable. You think about how you would want to deal with an animal that was always aggressive or not predictable. If you were slightly beyond a caveman, you would probably pass on domesticating the grizzly after he ate 2 of your friends. Their temperament is another big piece. They need to have a disposition that doesn't panic easily, and humans need to be able to manage their flight zone. If these animals panic, like let's say for instance a squirrel, they're pretty panicky. They bang themselves off of their cage or their fences and they hurt themselves, and you can't have them domesticated. They don't calm down. The animal has got to be able to accept a human as a leader, and they have to be able to adopt you into their social hierarchy. Horses will accept people as their leaders. Dogs are a really good example. When you see badly behaved dogs sometimes, it's because they have not accepted the person as their leader, and that's a piece of training for human and dog. Some animals can be partially domesticated or raised in captivity. Wolves would be an example of this because you do hear about wolves being domesticated from time to time, but the human cannot control and modify the animal's appearance or behavior. The animal is not fully domesticated. So you might be able to say you have a tame wolf, but I don't know that you can say that the wolves are domesticated. So when we look at domestic or tame, the domestic word means that the entire species meets all 6 domestic characteristics. If it's a tame animal, only one or a few individuals, or meet these domestic characteristics, and the offspring still possess traits of the wild counterparts. So that's how to tell the difference between a domesticated animal or a tame animal. So it is possible to have a tame wolf, not domesticated wolves.